Okay, picture this. A state program is created specifically to right the wrongs of the past, to help families finally get a shot at homeownership. Now, what if that exact same program ends up under a major federal investigation for discrimination? Well, that's exactly what's happening in Washington state right now. And it all really boils down to this one huge question. Can a program that's designed to help one specific group of people avoid discriminating against another? It's a question that pits two fundamental American ideas against each other: this push for equity versus the bedrock principle of equal protection under the law. So here's the headline. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has officially launched an investigation into Washington's Covenant Homeownership Program. And the whole issue? Well, HUD suspects the program might actually be violating the Fair Housing Act. So what is this program that's at the center of such a high-stakes federal probe? Let's get into it. The Covenant program is what's called a race-conscious program, and that means exactly what it sounds like. It deliberately and openly uses a person's race and ancestry as factors to see if they're eligible. This is a really big deal. In fact, it's considered the very first program of its kind in housing finance in the entire country. And we're not talking about small potatoes here. The benefits are significant. We're talking about a zero-interest secondary loan to help with that big down payment and all the closing costs. And for some low-income borrowers, that loan could be completely forgiven after just 5 years. This is an absolutely life-changing opportunity for the people who can get it. But here's the million-dollar question. Who can get it? And that right there is where all the controversy begins. Eligibility really comes down to two things. First, your income. You can't make more than 120% of the median income for your area. And second, and this is the big one, your ancestry. You need to have a parent or grandparent who is Black, Hispanic, Native American, Pacific Islander, or of Indian descent. Yep, that second requirement, that's what set off this whole federal investigation. All right, so let's look at it from HUD's perspective. Why do they think this breaks the law? Their whole case is built around what they're calling illegal preferences. This quote from the HUD secretary, it really says it all, doesn't it? It makes it crystal clear that from where the federal government stands, this isn't about good intentions. It's about the letter of the law and making sure every American has equal protection. And when you put the two sides right next to each other, the legal clash is, well, it's pretty obvious. On one hand, you have HUD pointing to the Fair Housing Act, which flatly prohibits discrimination based on race or ancestry, period. But on the other hand, Washington's program is designed to use race and ancestry as a primary qualifier. The two seem to be on a direct collision course. And wow, check out this quote. It comes straight from HUD's official investigation letter, and it does not pull any punches. It accuses the state commission of creating a system where, in their words, some residents are treated as more equal than others. That is a really serious charge. But, that's just HUD's side of the argument. The folks who created the program in Washington, well, they tell a completely different story about why this program exists and why they believe it's so necessary. So how does Washington defend a program that seems to fly right in the face of federal law? Their defense really comes down to process, research, and having support from both sides of the aisle. Yeah, according to the state's Housing Commission, this program didn't just appear out of thin air. They point out it was created by the state legislature, and get this, it passed with bipartisan support. They say it wasn't some backroom deal. It was developed with real community input and was based on actual research from a national firm. So their argument is that this was a careful, well-thought-out plan to fix a real, documented problem. So where do things stand right now? Well, the Washington State Housing Finance Commission says it's going to cooperate fully with the investigation and answer HUD's requests for information. It really looks like both sides are settling in for what could be a very long process. And that brings us to the big question, right? What happens now? You've got these two powerful government bodies on a collision course. So what does the path forward even look like? Okay, so the process from here has a few major steps. First up, HUD has to conduct its full investigation. After that, it has to make a finding. Is there what they call reasonable cause to believe civil rights laws were actually broken? And if the answer is yes, well, that's when HUD can take action. They might file discrimination charges themselves, or they could pass the whole thing over to the Department of Justice to handle. When you really get down to it, this whole situation in Washington is so much bigger than just one housing program. It's really putting a fundamental question on trial for the whole country. When laws that were created for equal protection seem to clash with policies that are trying to fix historical inequity, which path do we follow? It's a huge question, and there are no easy answers.